What is going on, everyone? This is Brayden Vaughn. This is the Superkick Wrestling Show, and we are going to break down everything to do with professional wrestling, from WWE to AEW, to Impact Wrestling, to New Japan Pro Wrestling, to AAA down in Mexico. We will be talking about it all on the Superkick, on YouTube, on Twitter, on thesuperkick.com, and I am so excited to be talking to you, my people, right now, because I really do think this is the start of something special, and I hope you join me because, man, am I feeling it right now. I think that we can grow this, we can become a real community, and I think the way to do that is by doing a daily show like this, where I talk to you about everything wrestling related, and I implore you to go into the comments, comment down below your thoughts on any of the stories we're going to be talking about today. We've got 6 main stories to be talking about, and then we have a lightning round of 4 quick topics that'll get a minute or less talking about them. I'm super excited about this, guys. Can't wait to do this. I seriously, guys, just want to talk about wrestling with you guys, man. And let's talk about wrestling. Let's do this. I think the solo show is the way to do it right now. I do want to have guests on in the future, but I have to have a show first to get guests on. And this has been a dream of mine to have a show like this. So I'm so excited about this, and I just want to take this by the horns and grasp it right now. And guys, without further ado, let's talk about some professional wrestling, baby. So the first topic that we're going to be talking about is Carmelo Hayes showed up on the main roster yesterday. He challenged Finn Balor for bragging rights. And this is interesting because we saw Braun Breaker challenge Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship last week on NXT. This week, we see Seth Rollins' Money in the Bank challenger Finn Balor taking on Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes, of course, feuded with Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes are 2 guys that can make an impact on the main roster. I think they can be main eventers for a long, long time if WWE plays their cards right. They handpicked these 2 guys, and I think they have proved it. Braun Breaker last week, Carmelo Hayes this week, and not just that, guys, but their work leading up to that. I am a big fan of both of these guys. I think it's time for both of them to be called up on the main roster. Main roster could use some new blood. I know the draft just happened, but kind of disappointed with the results. I mean, Odyssey Jones was drafted to Raw. What happened to that guy? What about Von Wagner? Although he had a really touching story on a recent episode of NXT. So I shouldn't get on that guy too much. But shout out to Von Wagner, actually. Again, it was a very touching story. They should really capitalize on that because really took to the heartstrings. And it's something because the guy hasn't had too much. But all of these guys that have been drafted and nothing is going on with them, they can make a superstar out of Braun Breaker. They can make a superstar out of Carmelo Hayes. Could you imagine if Carmelo Hayes immediately goes onto Raw, inserts himself into that main event scene? How about Braun Breaker goes over to SmackDown, beats Austin Theory for that United States Championship? I think that's alright, man. Let me know your thoughts on that. What did you think about Carmelo Hayes losing to Finn Balor yesterday, but still a really good showing from him? He really seemed like he belonged on that main roster, and that's why I'm pushing so hard for him and Braun to be on the main roster, because, man, do they just fit there, and I think WWE can really use them there, and I think them putting him in a match with Finn Balor was a good call, because Finn Balor is obviously a legitimate main eventer, and Finn Balor has proved for the past 10, 15 years that he's one of the greatest pro wrestlers in the world. So if you're going to put one of your young talents that you think is going to be something in the ring with, Finn Balor's a good guy to do it with. Him, AJ Styles, anybody that's been working for a long time. Seth Rollins, I mean, all these guys have been working in the ring for a long time. I almost dropped my phone there, but the show goes on, baby. Sami Zayn and Pro Wrestling Tees are promoting a t-shirt where the proceeds will go to Sami for Syria. And this t-shirt is stacked with autographs. I'll show you on screen right here. But you may notice Sami Zayn himself. You may notice the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, Cody Rhodes, and Kenny Omega? Bunch of WWE wrestlers, almost exclusively WWE wrestlers. And then Kenny Omega. That's interesting. I'm sure Sami Zayn and Kenny Omega are good friends, and maybe Pro Wrestling Tees reached out directly to Kenny Omega, or maybe Kenny himself reached out and said he wanted to be a part of the project. It's a little bit interesting, though, with CM Punk being back and Kenny Omega being on this shirt and being the only AEW guy to be on there. It would be a little bit more interesting if the Young Bucks were on there. These guys go way back to PWG, right? Like, way, way back. We're talking, like, 10, 15, 20 years for some of these guys, right? And you can't forget that Kenny Omega, also Canadian. Sami Zayn Canadian, Kenny Omega Canadian, I'm Canadian. We kind of have this bond, as I witnessed in Toronto when everyone was booing CM Punk. But I'll get to that, people. And I just think it's an awesome cause, and honestly, it's $2 a ticket. $2 a ticket! And you get to enter into a raffle to win this awesome t-shirt. It's a really cool t-shirt. It's a My Dog t-shirt and autographed by future WWE legends. The resale value on that would be insane, but honestly, I would keep that as a keepsake forever because that's something incredible, and like maybe one day if like, I don't know, if I have kids and they have to like cash out or something, you know, sell that, but I get to keep it and have, you know, my pride and joy of this thing that I won. It's probably not going to be me because I'll probably buy like 5-10 tickets. I'm not the biggest like, I do like gambling, but I haven't really been doing that too much because it's stupid. But it's for a good cause, which I can always talk myself into, you know, like it's like, oh, you know, like I could drop $50 on this. I get 100 tickets, but it's going to a good cause, even if I don't win. But I don't think I'll do that. Again, I'll probably do like 10, 15 tickets. I upped it for 5. Because, again, it's only $2 a ticket, and you get to enter in to win this t-shirt. Like, why not? I mean, it helps a good cause. You got to enter it in to win, again, like, the names. Like I said, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega being on this shirt is wild. Do you think this can maybe start the bridge for Kenny Omega to come to WWE? I'm sure some people are going to think that. I mean, it's just a t-shirt, but it's interesting that no AEW wrestlers outside of Kenny Omega himself are listed on here. Kind of interesting that the Bucks aren't listed on here. That would be cool. What about CM Punk? I feel like CM Punk is all down for that kind of cause. Why couldn't they get him? Interesting team that they got with Kenny Omega, I'll tell you that. Especially because all of the dirt sheets in the next like year or two are going, including myself, are going to report that Kenny Omega might be leaving All Elite Wrestling, right? So do with that what you will. T-shirt, he might be leaving. A little bit interesting there. I don't know. When there's smoke, there's fire sometimes. We didn't think Cody Rhodes was going to leave, and he did leave. And speaking of AEW, when do you guys think that Adam Cole and MJF's next matchup will be? We saw them wrestle to a time limit draw on Dynamite, and a next matchup has not been announced, but they have been announced for this tag team tournament that they're doing, this blind tag team tournament. And maybe they get a shot at FTR's tag team titles. That would be interesting if you're going to do an MJF and CM Punk angle, which they could do, but I don't know, man. They've got like 3 big events that they could easily do this at. So they could do it at Blood and Guts, which is rumored for July 19th in AEW's debut at Boston, which is cool. So Blood and Guts potentially, which is coming up in less than a month from now. Other option would be to do it at All In, of course, at Wembley Stadium. That's a big show. Do you want to do MJF and Adam Cole there, though? Does that have enough steam to be the main event, probably? Is Kenny going to be in the main event? I feel like Kenny and Ospreay might be the main event because Ospreay's the guy there. They may finally be getting the main event there after they didn't at Forbidden Door. Arguably should have gotten it at Forbidden Door. Didn't, though. So, do you do MJF and Adam Cole there? Maybe. The other option, they announced All Out for Chicago, which is a week or so after All In, so around the same time. They could easily save it till then. I think that they could do a slow burn on this program, and it wouldn't be the worst idea. Maybe you do another match at Blood and Guts, or on a random Dynamite, and then you do the match at All Out or All In. I don't know. I kind of would put the belt on Adam Cole. Is that crazy to say? The thing with Adam Cole is he had a pretty serious injury, and if you're going to pull the trigger on this guy becoming world champion, you might as well do it while he's healthy right now, and while you can guarantee that he does have a world championship reign in him, because he absolutely deserves that. I would put the belt on him for sure. Adam Cole is a guy that has more than paid his dues in this business, a guy with, unfortunately, injury history, but has given his body to this industry, and not only this industry, but this company, because probably the most serious injury of his career he suffered at an AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling show, Forbidden Door, last year. So, if you're going to do it now. He couldn't wrestle at Forbidden Door because he was sick. Even if it's a short reign for the guy, even if you have to hotshot him, I think the fans will remember for a long time Adam Cole's World Championship reign. A guy that never got a World Championship reign, that did get a World Championship reign, a few of them, but we never thought did, was Rey Mysterio. And I know Adam Cole's a bit bigger than Rey Mysterio, but there's a size discrepancy there. They're not the biggest guys in the world. And they absolutely deserved World Championship reigns. So do you give it to him as a thank you, Adam Cole? Me personally, I would. It's pro wrestling. It's scripted. You can do whatever you want. Tony Khan's the booker. Why not give Adam Cole the belt? Maybe you give it to him to pop a rating on Blood and Guts. And you say, or Collision, maybe. Could you imagine that? Adam Cole beats MJF on Collision? That would be interesting. You try to use him to pop a rating for a title. They wrestled to a time limit draw before. Next time at Blood and Guts, potentially, there is no time limit draw. This is going until we have a winner. And the winner at the end of the day is Adam Cole. And then you stretch that until All Out or All In. And you have Adam Cole probably lose the title back to MJF. Is MJF being a two-time champion the worst thing in the world? No. So you give Adam Cole a reign with the belt, and then you give MJF a second reign with the belt. WWE used to hotshot that WWE Championship all the time to John Cena, and people do not question John Cena's 16 times as world champion. They recognize it, even though some of his reigns were a night, or a week, a month. Some of those 16 reigns did not last long. But history does not remember that. History just remembers the key number. And the key number would be MJF at 2 World Championship reigns. So, in my opinion, I would be doing title switch at Blood and Guts. And as a wrestling fan, I love to fantasy book, just like I'm sure you guys do. You do the title switch at Blood and Guts in Boston. That's a big moment for that Boston crowd. You want to make an impact on your debut there. You do the title switch there. And then you have MJF win that thing back at All Out or at All In. And maybe you do it at All Out and then triple threat between CM Punk, Adam Cole, MJF at All In. I would love that a lot, personally. But I don't have the book of this company. A guy named Tony Khan does. So I'm interested to see how this plays out because I don't think there is a really solid enough opponent for MJF outside of Adam Cole that has been built up yet. And again, I'll get to some more things later, but the next thing we're going to be talking about, of course, as we move on, is going to be the Collision rating came in, and it was a lot lower than the debut in Chicago the previous week. I was at this Collision, held up my try to love CM Punk sign, and they didn't really love CM Punk as much as I was hoping they would. There was a lot of boos there. I'm happy I wasn't at Forbidden Door because the boos were a lot more vocal at Forbidden Door than they were Collision. Even they were pretty vocal at Collision, unfortunately. But that show did not draw the biggest rating, and I think Tony Khan needs to market his product better. I don't think they should have had CM Punk in another tag team match. I talk about this on my blog, too. Really should not have done that. They should have had CM Punk versus Samoa Joe in a singles match. Or, again, what I talked about on the Superkick.com, you do CM Punk versus Satoshi Kojima at Collision instead of Forbidden Door, which I think would have played better, in my opinion. They had a really good match at Forbidden Door. If you had CM Punk at Collision instead, and then maybe you do a tag team match at Forbidden Door, I don't think that's the worst idea. FTR wasn't at Forbidden Door. They could have given a spot there, and then had CM Punk and Kojima. I don't know if that would have affected the rating too much, but I do think there is more appeal in CM Punk having a singles match than another tag team match. Because we saw his return the previous week. We saw him do a tag team match. Wasn't that... Yeah, I mean, it was alright. It was solid, but it doesn't get the draw that a singles match does. And another thing that I would have done if I were Tony Khan is I would have had him cut a promo at the start of the show to hype up his match later in the night. The first time we saw CM... Well, I guess he did it on screen, but you want to have him in ring. The key to CM Punk is having him in front of that live audience and getting that reaction. And if he had gotten that massive reaction for the promo that he cut at the end of the show, at the beginning of the show, in front of that live crowd, it would have set the tone for the rest of the show. And it might have caused some people that were on Twitter or just kind of casually watching to tune in because, oh my god, look at how much CM Punk is getting booed. Now, they couldn't have forecasted that, I guess, but I think they had the formula down last week. Every week, you start the show with a CM Punk promo, you end the show with a CM Punk match. Boom, bang, boom. Easy, roll tape. It's a good formula, I think. You advertise the match a ton. Tony Khan needs to get better at advertising his product. And I think he needs to advertise it to the casual fan more than the hardcore wrestling fan. If you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you knew about TNA and you watch TNA. If you're a hardcore wrestling fan in 2023, you're a hardcore fan of AEW and you watch AEW. You know about AEW. If you're a random person or maybe just casual WWE fan, you don't really know about AEW, or you don't want to tune into AEW because you're comfortable watching WWE. But if you start infiltrating the lives of WWE fans, could be different. I don't know. I just think they need to stop targeting the AEW audience as much. And I get that that's good for merchandise sales, but man, you know who killed merchandise sales at their live shows? TNA. So, I don't know, man. I think people are going to call me crazy. People are going to disagree with me a lot, but it's my opinion, guys, and again, that's what we're going to be doing here, talking wrestling. And if you do disagree with me, please comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. LA Knight says in an interview with Chris Van Vliet, he thought that he was going to be fired in 2022. We saw LA Knight, Shawn Ricker, go under Maxine Dupree, a character change that was definitely for the worse. Who was rallying for this outside of Vince McMahon? You didn't get to see him flash his megastar potential like you do as LA Knight. LA Knight worked in NXT. It works on the main roster. Why they tried to change that, I don't know. I think there's been some reports that LA Knight didn't particularly get along with Vince McMahon, and that's probably why he thought he was going to be fired. He did say he could be wrong, but he really did feel like he was going to be let go, and now he could be Mr. Money in the Bank. That would be crazy. Do you guys want to see LA Knight win Money in the Bank? Do you think he was going to be fired last year? And the Maximum Male Models, they're like pretty much done, right? Maxine Dupree's hanging out with Alpha Academy. LA Knight's doing his thing, about to win Money in the Bank. I'm so happy they ditched that gimmick for him. And that was the change in creative. Could you imagine, though, if Vince McMahon never left WWE as briefly as he did? LA Knight would probably still be Max Dupree, and it would have been a terrible gimmick, and it would have just been brutal, right? But he's not that. He's LA Knight, and he's thriving, and he's the man, and again, potentially Mr. Next Money in the Bank. Big fan of LA Knight. And let's move on to the next topic. The Animal, Batista, says that he was scheduled to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, but he couldn't because he was in South Africa for a movie. He was on Cool Kicks, which is a YouTube channel, talking about some shoes, and talking about his acting career, and talking about his Hall of Fame induction. He was supposed to go in 2020, but wanted it to be in front of the fans, which is so understandable because they pushed it to 2021 in front of, I think it was no fans or maybe a select amount of fans, and it just wasn't the same. I'm assuming next year probably, but Hollywood would have been a great place because he's a Hollywood actor now. But being a Hollywood actor, guy has to take roles wherever. South Africa was the role at the time, and couldn't make it to the Hall of Fame because guy's doing a different form of acting now, you know, and I know wrestling's not really acting, but it kind of is. He also said that nothing really matches that rush of being a pro wrestler, and you hear this from guys like Edge, and even like CM Punk. Like, CM Punk still wants to... CM Punk could easily have just taken his ball and went home and said, I'm gonna sit home and get paid. But he didn't do that. He wanted to come back to wrestling, and these guys just have an itch in them, and it's the same reason why Ric Flair will continue doing last matches until he probably dies. It's crazy, man. I love it so much, and obviously you can tell how much they love it. But what do you think about Batista saying he could have went into the Hall of Fame this year, but declined? I think he's absolutely right on that. That was the big rumor. It was a bit disappointing that he wasn't involved in the Hall of Fame this year, because I was such a Batista fan growing up, and I think that he absolutely deserves to be in that Hall of Fame. Multi-time world champion, one of the wrestlers that left wrestling and would actually go on to do big things. This guy would go on to become Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was in a James Bond movie. Who thought that? Even 2008, 2009, we all thought that Cena might be an actor. Randy Orton might be an actor. But the main event guy from there, Batista, he would be the big actor. And I think that's awesome, man. We have now reached the lightning round, baby. Let's start it off with Cody Rhodes' dog Pharaoh made an appearance on Raw last night. That was cool. Who doesn't love Pharaoh? Piran looking really good, looking like a good boy. Come on, who doesn't love Pharaoh? Who didn't want to just go over him and give him a bunch of boobs, right? Everybody loves Pharaoh. Everybody loves Cody Rhodes. Next topic up, Grayson Waller is out with an injury. He broke his leg in his match against Carmelo Hayes, and he appeared in a Twitter video and talked about it. Devastating injury for him. Talking about guys who were drafted, but nothing has been going on with them. Grayson Waller has a valid excuse. Broken leg. Wishing the best for him. I think this guy has a lot of potential. Just needs to get over this injury, and hopefully it doesn't derail him in his career. Next topic up. Fans are showing reported screenshots of AEW Fight Forever. The F5 in that game is called diverticulitis, which was the disease that almost killed Brock Lesnar. And I really hope this is photoshopped and it's not part of the game, because I think that's in really bad taste to name Brock's finishing move diverticulitis. I get taking shots at WWE. I'm a fan of companies taking shots at each other, to be honest with you. Not the way to do it, so I really hope that that is photoshopped and it's not real. We'll know when we pick up the game, though. Next topic on the lightning round. Jungle Boy will be cutting a promo on Dynamite tomorrow. Should he change characters? Jack Perry, Jungle Boy. Would it be better if he was just Jack Perry? No Jungle Boy involved at all. Guy comes out as Hollywood social elite, says I've got a hot girlfriend, and I don't care about the fans, man, and yes, think I should work with whoever, CM Punk, whatever. I'm not going to work with him. I don't care. I don't need to work with him. I don't need to work with anybody. I don't even need to be here, because I'm rich. That's what I would love to see happen, but we'll see tomorrow on Dynamite what happens. Let me know your thoughts on all of these topics. Lightning round is done, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I want this to be a nightly show. I think this would be awesome. And if I have to record it earlier, if I'm doing something, not the end of the world, man. Doing it around like 9:30 tonight. But please tune in tomorrow night. I'm going to edit this. This is going to be awesome. Continue on with me, man. Follow the socials in the comments, in the bio, and go to the superkick.com, please. Thank you guys so much.